moment! Tiens, grand! Qu'est-ce qu'on fait à Genève alors?
Eh bien, aujourd'hui, on va faire un petit repas d'équipe avec Chris McSorley, entraîneur mythique de Genève pendant 20 ans.
On va faire en anglais alors.
Et on va faire tout en anglais, donc ça va être beau.
You speak English?
Brian is in the kitchen.
Ok, ça va.
Let's go.
Ça marche.
Ah, le match
de tennis.
Tout droit, revers, servi.
Bonsoir les gars.
Hey, Chris, what's up?
Good to see you guys.
Good to have you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for the invitation tonight.
In French? We do it in French?
We may have to wait another year.
Perfect.
But I have a lot more time now to work on my French, so hopefully we'll do another show next year.
Okay, perfect. So, can you explain us a little bit why you pick up this restaurant?
Well, I can honestly say Stefan Bronneman with Hugo Ropel making the arrangements. I'm really happy that this place could host us tonight because I was thinking about all the great restaurants, but I can honestly say as far as the meat, I'm an incurable carnivore, so this is going to be a special treat for all of you. And
We like meat, that's great. Good choice.
well, you're in a good choice tonight.
I know the restaurant too, so good choice.
Great.
Let's go there.
Thank you.
So Chris, it's a very pleasure to have you here, and just like I played for you for 2 great years in Geneva. That was like 12 years ago, and it's still for me one of my great memory of that, like of those 2 years, and I'm really happy that we can have a team day there again together.
You know that I play for you? Do you know that?
It's a long time ago. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Actually, that was we definitely won, and
I don't know.
yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, you.
Where was it?
Vallejo.
That's right.
You had Reto Pavoni and you didn't want him to play. I was practicing with you guys when I was in the NHL, and you said, "Do you want to play?" I said, "Okay."
That's right. You're only making about $5 million at the time,
No,
so
no,
I think
no,
you're
I
a little
was-
bit nervous playing for me.
I was a
but
bargain at the time.
that's right too. And unfortunately, we had to let you get back on an airplane to go home. But
So you grew up in Canada, Ontario, and
I grew up in the Langnau of Ontario.
Okay.
Grew up in a farming district where hockey and sport was really prevalent. Big cities in the area, but every time I had 6 brothers and 3 sisters, and I think my sisters were actually tougher than my brothers. So, but my dad, he ruled the farm with an iron fist, and my mom was, she was an amazing athlete. And I can tell you that I always feared more summer time or off season than hockey season because it was a lot tougher being on the farm with my brothers than it was actually playing hockey or fighting with the adversaries. So it's very blessed, very blessed.
hockey came right away for the family. It was a big part of, obviously in Canada, I know that.
Well, my dad was a hopeless Toronto Maple Leaf fan because we grew up
Still is, or still
No, 70 kilometers south of Toronto is where we grew up, right near Niagara Falls, Lake Erie, and
Hamilton.
yeah, Hamilton, Ontario. But it was always ice, natural ice, and as soon as my dad turned his back on the farm, we always had our skates and our hockey sticks hidden around the farm. So there was always a hockey game that broke out, and then my mom was a nurse. So a registered nurse, so she actually probably violated every Canadian medical code because she gave stitches and tetanus shots, and because we're too far to go to the hospital. So my mom was a very good seamstress, but mostly in skin and not in clothes.
Oh, I can't imagine what happened in those games, huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was bitter. I mean, really, and it was an amazing lifestyle to grow up, and you always grew up thinking that everyone had more, but you grew up with each other, and then when you find someone like my brother Marty, who had a chance to make it to the National Hockey League, and Christo, as you know, that the NHL's the NHL, and to win 2 Stanley Cups and bringing the Stanley Cup to our home and having a chance to have a village of 800 people to celebrate with a Stanley Cup is it was an amazing lifestyle.
There's probably a McSorley Street there, no?
Yeah, and I think if you ever looked at the Stanley Cup and you see a couple of dents or reparations, it's probably because of what happened on the McSorley farm.
You grew up playing hockey, as you say, and after that you moved to have a hockey career on your own too.
Well, for sure, well, I'll just tell you real simple how it happened. When my brother made it to the National Hockey League.
So you're younger than Marty, huh?
I'm a year older than Marty.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, okay, I guess this is probably gonna open up a lawsuit. But back then they didn't really have the internet. So when I started playing, I was Marty's younger brother. But actually I'm a year older because I'm a 62, Marty's a 63. But when Marty made it, I mean, he was the worst hockey player in the family. So I'm working. I hadn't played hockey for 5 years. So from I had a car accident when I was 17, so I didn't really play till I was 22.
Okay.
And when Marty made it, I'm like, okay, if he can make it, anybody can make it. So at that time, I was spent a lot of time in karate and kickboxing, going to college. So I was in shape, but I wasn't in hockey shape. And seeing Marty make it, and since he wasn't much of a fighter, I said, if he can make it, I can make it. So I quit my job and got Bobby Clark in Philadelphia to give me a tryout. It was his first year. So I have to finish, sorry to prolong it. But Bobby Clark gave me a tryout, and then after 3 days, he called me in for a meeting with Mike Keenan. It was their first year. And he said, Chris, we have to have a meeting. So I sat down and I was bloodied because I had three days of Philadelphia Flyer training camp. So he says, Chris, I thought I was going to get a contract. He says, Chris, I can honestly say in my entire history of the Philadelphia Flyers, you could be the worst player we've ever had in a Flyer jersey. So I goes, yes. So, but we'll let you play against New Jersey on Friday, but just stop fighting. So, because we want to see if anyone else can play. So I got my game with the Flyers in an exhibition game, and then I started my career in the minors.
Actually, I heard that story from Craig.
Oh, you did? Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
So I did.
Probably talked to him.
Yes. The Flyers are still affected to this day. They haven't won a Stanley Cup since.
So you were fighting a lot to have your spot in the lineup, huh?
To be honest, the reason I fought every day is because it was better than going back to the farm. Yeah. So every day I walked into the dressing room and I saw my jersey. It was a surprise, and I was so happy to have my jersey and still be able to play, because as I say, playing in the minors and making $308 a week, I was rich, and I thought it was great. So I did everything I could to make sure I didn't have to go back to the farm. And two years later, I won the Most Improved Player of the League, signed with Los Angeles in 1986, and I played 5 years in the minors, and I was just lucky to ever have anybody give you a paycheck to play hockey.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's true.
That's always a good reminder for the young.
No, but that's true.
Players.
We're lucky to play that sport and to get paid for it.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it's a passion first, and then we're lucky just to have a life, and because of it. So.
And as you go to the top of the pyramid, there's so many few players that ever get invited to play professional hockey. And once you play professional hockey, nobody can take it away from you. But the fact is now, since 1984 to where we are today, to spend all these decades basically working in sport, I've been very, very blessed.
Hockey has changed since those years, but nobody gives the invitation for when they haven't played for 5 years anymore in the NHL. But
yes, and I met my first chance to coach. I was 27.
So why you moved that early coaching? That's a good question.
I was very fortunate not to be a very good hockey player, and I didn't believe I was going to make it. I was one level below the NHL, but not quite good enough to make the NHL. So I was given a chance by an old coach of mine who gave me a chance to coach at 27 in professional hockey. I didn't know how to coach. I just brought all my friends to the team, and we practiced every day. We just had bagel.
Where was that? In Vegas?
Winston-Salem.
Okay.
So,
in the East Coast?
Yeah, in the East Coast. So I spent 5 years, and if people knew, I mean, I didn't have a bus light. I drove the bus many nights because having a bus driver who's an alcoholic is not a good thing. So he would get so excited at the hockey matches, he would just be drinking beer. So I had to drive home. So the going through the mountains, icy mountains of Virginia, and the bus would be fishtailing, and I'd be driving the bus home. I mean, those were some perilous nights. But I would wash the laundry of the players. I had 5-6 players living in my apartment. It
was a very good old-time hockey.
Yeah, it was old-time hockey. You had the owner of the team used to have a handgun. I mean, so the players are very motivated. If he came in the dressing room, we always seemed to have a good third periods. And I was lucky enough to win.
Yeah, you won 2 championships in the East Coast, huh?
Yeah, 2.
Which is never, any championship is never easy to
I think 2.
Any level.
Yeah, so I won 2. No, it's so difficult, such a tough league to win in. And then I was lucky enough to make it to Las Vegas. There I had a chance to coach Cujo. Curtis Joseph, who could Hall of Fame goaltender, and as a young coach, I was afraid every day to show up and not know or not show confidence in front of the team. Okay. So it was really a challenge every day to be over-prepared because so many players were NHL players who had the best coaches in the world. So it was the best training I ever had, and it prepared me for coming to Europe.
So, but yeah, you bring right away your own stuff to your own tactic to the team, or did you went with something that you already see, or you just created like you did like a lot in Geneva too?
We did some really groundbreaking things, and the good thing about.
Do you have an example of what you different?
Well, yeah, and I can honestly, I'll go on the record and say, I mean, the offensive zone, to have an offensive zone system where you activated the defense never existed before Las Vegas. Because I had very small, very mobile, very intelligent defensemen, and we incorporated our defensemen of being upside down, where nowadays it's common to see a defenseman that goes straight to the net.
Well, at the time it wasn't. Defensemen were defensemen. Right?
And then really what I did in Las Vegas is that we just really made sure our defensemen were actually played like forwards, and they were capable. And we set records for most wins and goals. We had 37 shorthanded goals in 1 year, which. And you saw when I came to Geneva, I would rather take a chance killing penalties, or I would much rather force the opposition to make 3-4 good passes before they scored, so you could just be uber aggressive.
Don't tell me that Mons scored on the shorthanded for you.
Actually, I
he
can
was
say...
on the PK. I know he was on the PK.
Yeah, he was actually...
I like it too.
I forget you were that fast. I forget.
I used to be fast.
No, but I can say Mons was fairly effective because one, he got the message, he knew how to play, and he actually had a sneaky good shot. You know, kind of like a young Chris McSorley. I mean,
this is good.
No. Otherwise, you would have had Bobby Clark call you in his office and say you're the worst player he's ever had. But I was lucky enough because I had good assistants, and Hans Kosman was brilliant, and Louis Matt is still brilliant, and just lucky enough to have people that were great assistants that bought into it. And when we came to Geneva, I had Bozon, Philippe Bozon, who the reason Geneva got promoted in its first year was because of Philippe Bozon. But Philippe Bozon, he has super strong personality. And him collected with Todd Richards, who was that defenseman I had in Las Vegas, they bought in. It took them a while to buy in, but we bought in and we became really good.
Your leaders were always great.
Never be afraid of leaders. And never be afraid of what happens in the dressing room, as long as you think you got the right people in your room. And I've been very lucky. The greatest skill I have is my ability to recruit people and not be afraid of their personality. And if you're afraid of strong, like a Bozone or a Meunier, or all the great leaders I had going through Geneva, you got to hire people and then just let them do their job and leave them alone. Don't be afraid of strong personalities.
Just to come back a little bit on US, like you were in US in Vegas, and what made you come to Europe?
I had almost a 5-year run, which was amazing, and I was tired of them. They were tired of me, and today they're still my best friends. But
how did you end up in
to be honest, I was going to be an NHL coach. I was in Sports Illustrated. I was supposed to be the next coming of young coaches, and I had set a professional record. I won 4 titles, 2 ice hockey and 2 professional inline hockey.
Inline, okay.
And I won 4 titles in 2 years. So Sports Illustrated, so I was this guy. But then I just realized I came September, I didn't have a job. So I had Los Angeles Kings, who owned 6 teams in Europe. They
Berlin,
Prague,
Hamburg,
Stockholm, Geneva, and London, and Munich. So they put me in London because they finished in last place 2 years in a row. And I remember I did my very best in the interview with Mr. Anschutz and the management from Los Angeles to not get the job, because I'm going to be an NHL coach. I'm not going to be in Europe. So I went to the interview. I asked for some stupid money, and they said, well, how can we afford to pay you that kind of money? And I said, well, you were in last place last year. How can you afford not to pay me? So Mr. Anschutz walked out and tapped me on the shoulder and said, give him what he wants.
Okay, I'll take notes.
But I was lucky. We won the first year. And then it's amazing, but I was reading a book on Geneva by the bed, and just for no strange reason, and Geneva came open, and I was lucky enough to get the job.
And then Anschutz moved you to Geneva?
Almost like a mercenary. And they said, give 3 years, we want the team in the LNA, because we're talking about a new arena project. And I say, the purpose is to win it in 1. But this is the best story. We never would have had promotion if I understood French. Oh no, because when I saw my name on the newspaper boxes, it had McSorley. They would always talk about what I did and which player I didn't sign. It was massive news.
Media and
But if I could understand the media, for sure I wouldn't have made the changes I made.
Well, we're glad to speak English tonight, if it's for that.
But I can say that not knowing French probably kept me in a cocoon where I was allowed to do my job and make changes. And back then there was 36 games in the championship, and we lost 4 out of our first 5. And then we had a team meeting, and after that we won 36 out of 37 games, because including the 13 playoff games. So we never lost a playoff game, and things worked. But I can tell you, I had a great group of guys, and Hans did a great job, and great goaltender. I mean, everything kind of came together once they realized that this is the way we're going to play.
But that was probably at that time you were coaching to national team of England.
That's right.
That's the first time I met you. We met you. We didn't meet each other, but we played against you.
You were such a dirty player.
I was young, but that was boss. We were playing against you in the qualification of the Olympic Games in Poland.
Yes.
And we won 5-4. That was a crazy game.
Yeah. You guys were so dirty.
And you remember what you did? You did like Jimmy was your manager,
That's
was
right,
your
yeah.
equipment manager at
He
the
might
time.
have been the coach too.
And then the time you were always like doing the sticks rules.
the sticks, yeah.
And then Chris, we prepare for Chris like couple stick different. And then the third period we move. we move you. Jimmy changed your sticks, and then you asked for like to verify Cristo sticks.
That's right.
And then we didn't get a 2 minutes, and because you would try to come back, we were winning 5-4. You were trying to get a 2 minutes and to pull the goalie out. That was pretty good.
Jimmy was sharp. I mean, you guys
Jimmy
were
was sharp.
Yeah. But I thought your sticks were fat. But
yeah, he was. But he took another one.
Yeah. Hey, we weren't born in Ontario, but we fucking.
And Jimmy,
you might have been born yesterday, but not last night.
Exactly.
Yeah. But God, I didn't know that. I would have fired Jimmy if I knew that.
I don't remember that game actually.
I remember like both get a shot in the ice. And the ref think there was an ice stick from England, so they give him England 5 minutes, and then we score on a PP too. But Boss didn't get the ice stick; he got the puck in the ice. But at the time he had no visor, so he gets stitches, and he was like bleeding a little bit, cinema and everything.
Yeah.
And then
he was. Those could be very dramatic.
Yeah, it was pretty dramatic. And then they get a 5 minute because the referee couldn't. Like we were in Poland, we couldn't see anything there. And then that changed the game.
It did.
I remember well that time.
But I can tell you,
that was tough.
The Brits, they worked hard, and it was a great experience to do it. But I can tell you, back then they were more interested. They would only agree to come to the national program
if you can drink. No.
If you can drink, and there's no curfew, because there's no money. So they said, there's no curfew, and we can have drinks. Then we come. Yeah. If not, we don't come. But it was a lot of fun. But I never got a salary. It wasn't. Yeah. I did it. It probably cost me 20,000 francs a year to have that job.
To pay those beers?
Yeah, I had to pay all the beers. And but I can say that it was great, but it was back then the program was severely underfunded.
Yeah. Well, it's an experience, right?
But I will say that when you coach at the lower levels, the one thing you do, you learn to improvise. You learn to be creative, because if you're going to, and even today, if you're going to take on the Bern, the Zurichs, or the top teams of the league, all these young, I mean, the Swiss league is so well coached, and there's so many great coaches, and you learn to improvise, to play different. And that's, when I came to Switzerland, I mean, we did some different things, and we had players playing in positions where a lot of Swiss players didn't agree. They wanted to have all this flow, but we just wanted to be efficient. So all we ever talked about my first year in Geneva was when we play for LNA promotion. We never talked about the LNB championship. All we ever spoke about when we're playing against the LNA club for promotion. I refused to recognize the B League championship because I just assumed that was going to happen. I did not want that to be the goal of the team.
Put something in their head too.
Yeah, so we never talked about, Coeur, which we beat Coeur to go up, but at that time we didn't know who, but we always talked about when we play against the LNA team, we're going to have to be able to do this. And Igor Fedulov was amazing, and Pascal Schaller, and all Brazi, and all these players. Alain Raymond, we had so many, Leipzig, we had so many great players that just found their magic.
You also brought the team to the club to another level from where you took it, and it's we have the chance to say it on camera, so it's a good time to say it, that Geneva is on the map for a long time now.
They were nowhere, basically before Anschluss, but then Anschluss put you there, and then you put Geneva in a Swiss hockey map. Wow. Because before they were there in the 70s, they won the cup, and but since that they were struggling, and Verne need that.
You came close.
Very close,
Very
twice.
Close, yeah.
2 times we came close, and I can say that, we might have been punching above our weight class, but we played great teams, and we got close, and it's been an honor and privilege.
You overachieved going to the finals.
Well, probably the first 10 years, a little bit in the end, you have a better budget. I would say. First 10 years, you have a pretty low budget, and
really
you're doing overachieving.
Ownership does not. I mean, in Swiss League, Swiss National League, it's expensive when you own the clubs, and it's a tough business to be an owner as well. But I got to say, hats off to Hugh Kennick. He was a great partner, a good president, and I wish the club the best. And it was 19 years was a great run, and I do wish the team the best. But I can tell you that. It's not an easy job to do, and
how did you end up to be an owner? That's a good question, because so Anschluss brought you as a coach, and then they can say we finish with being owner of European team, basically.
This is actually a question no one's ever asked me, but I can say in 2004, 2005, that the team basically I was called into a board meeting that if the team does not find a partner, because Anschutz had spent millions and millions of francs in the team, and they didn't see a future of a new arena project.
And that's what they want, because they're building arena. They have the Stamper Center in LA. They have
that's what they do. And
O2 Arena.
So I was basically instructed that we have to move players like Kevin Romy and all these players to reduce our budget because the team will be liquidated. I went home to my wife. I had no intention to be an owner. I say, if we like Geneva, we're going to have to make the solution ourselves. So I went back and flew to Denver, made an agreement with Mr. Anschutz to save Geneva. And then I went to the board, to Mr. Toriani, who's an amazing and elegant person, and said, I have a solution. And everyone said, oh, great, who? I said, well, it's me. A few board members, won't mention names, were not very happy because they say, well, we can't fire you. I say, well, what do you mean fire me? The team is overachieving every year. So okay. The only thing they're worried about is too many hats and firing me. Okay, then we'll let the team fail and go down 3 levels with bankruptcy.
But that's what happened with Munich in Germany. They went down. There was no team for like 10 years in Munich.
So I went from maybe one of the highest paid coaches in the league to immediately the lowest paid coach in the league because ownership sucks. And we had to I took a salary reduction, massive, just to make sure the team could pay player salaries. And so for the ownership I had with Hugh Kennick, we accomplished a lot, but we just waited till we got the business going. And Christoph Stuckey was an amazing CEO, and he brought business to the sport. And then we took off.
That's also why we were tough on finding players and tough with some players.
Well,
I mean,
you took so many young players. Like we can talk about Joe Mercier, Paul Savary, Thomas Derouns, like Kevin Romy,
Chris Rivera.
You took them they were kind of a good player, but no, Chris was probably lower, but he was in the end he was a good player.
Yeah, very good.
And you made some good deals with the players because maybe that part of ownership
when it's your money,
exactly.
You learn to be a little bit more attached to these deals.
You gotta be smart.
Or smart or bankrupt. But anyways, but the great thing we did to Geneva, and this is probably the most important message during our entire discussion, we put a Videotron in our rink. So we brought the show. We brought everybody did a great job with the VIP, and we brought class. We all wore suits, and we took the players with the patinoire exterior program.
Well, we as a player, we were doing like event every week. Like we were trying, but that's true. Like we were part. Like we're trying to bring.
Goran said also.
Yeah, we were talking with Goran the other day. Like we were like that was our job to create a culture of hockey in Geneva that doesn't exist before, and that's you guys, like what you and Hugh and all the team. That's what you did. Like you bring.
Well, you came to Geneva. You came to Geneva a single guy, and all those promotions. you left Geneva with a wife. Yeah. So it worked out pretty good for you.
Yeah, not bad. Actually, not bad.
You probably didn't meet her, other than on a promotion or in a bar or so.
She's a physio.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about you, Laurent.
About my wife, she will be happy probably when we talk about her.
But we just made sure that we brought the players to the public and made it personal. So that's why all these years I coached, if I lost 2 games in a row, you'd never see a banderole saying, hey, McSorley, you suck, you must go. It's because I probably invited at one time all 7,000 people to the match. So everyone I kind of had a personal relationship with everyone.
But that's what people like you. Like they know you, and you are close to the fan, to the VIP too, but not only to the VIP, to the fan, to the main fan of the team.
Well, it's been, as I say, when you still see the people you know that come to the games, and I've seen very rich people or very normal people or everyday people, but when you walk into a sport match, some people just go completely crazy with passion, and that's kind of what we did in Geneva. We took a market where I was told, don't waste your time. It's nothing but arts, culture, and banking. So you waste your time in Geneva. It's not a sports town, but it turned out to be a sports town.
Yeah, it is a sport town, and it's more and more now, even because of what you bring there. And that's good. So Chris, we were talking about Geneva. You have a great time, 20 years. Do you have like two Spanish Cup? Do you have any regrets for those 20 years as you have in Geneva? That was a nice run, but probably have syllabus thing that you want to do differently?
There's not much. I mean, I've been a very lucky person, and just making it to the finals, it's a really difficult accomplishment to even make it to the finals. But there's, for me, you know, to develop this market, to make the academy, to see the young players come through, develop the exterior programs with the hockey rinks. For me, it's much larger than results. It's basically we created a market out of nothing.
We know that what you did and everything. But if there are any like a small thing that you say to yourself, oh, in that game 5 in the final, that I would throw money on the power play.
Yeah. Well, the only regret I probably had was putting Meunier in the power play.
Maybe.
No.
Yeah, not too much on the first year.
No. Congrats on going to the final then, huh?
But you know what? Not too many regrets. I've always gone behind the bench as prepared as possible. So, not too often.
That's good. In life too, don't have regrets. It's a good.
I guess my only regret is probably not continuing. You know, and you know, things happen and times change, but not continue in Geneva is probably my only regret, because now it's a change to your family. But I look back, I can feel very proud of what
you have to.
My contribution has been, but I'm not a person who loses sleep when it comes to making mistakes. And I look back, I was moral.
That's a quality.
Yeah, I was moral. I was tough. I pushed the players like hell, and I was good to my staff, and I worked with some great people. And I look back with great memories, and I look forward to my next challenge.
And can you a little bit tell us about you end with Geneva? How things a little bit happen, because they took you out of the coaching, they put you back in coaching, and then after they took you out and out of management too.
You know, I could probably be accused of a lot of things, but not a bad coach. So, if at the end, if you have people above you that want to make decisions, then they're free to make those decisions. But I can assure you that I will go to my next job, and I'll do a great job, and it'll be. Wherever I go will be the next team that's going to be a great team. And but for me, I mean, to see the decisions people want to make, it's they can make those decisions, but then they're going to have to live with those decisions. So I always wish Geneva the best, and it's a great organization that I created. I was a big part of it, and they got a big responsibility to continue it.
Did you maybe the only regret maybe would be like you sell your part to not be an owner, because maybe if you were still an owner, you were still probably the coach here.
Yeah, no? well, for sure, but there's a lot of things that obviously have never been made public. That the reasons of why I sold my side of the club. And it certainly was a destabilizing moment. Okay. And you know, again, I can honestly say that I look back, for sure I could have done things differently, but not much differently. And to let the club take the next steps that I thought at that time was the best thing to do. So at the end, there's no regret really on my part, and it's been good that now I can move on to my next.
We all agree on that table. You can be proud of yourself, of course.
What you build and what the legacy you leave to. That's huge. You leave a huge legacy to the city and to to the people of Geneva. So yeah,
Thank you.
can be proud of that for sure.
Thank you. And I always feel like Geneva's a great place to still call home in my family. And now my son, Chief, who you saw Chief.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's his own institution, and now he's an assistant coach, and he's working with some really good people in the association of Genève Servette. So now he's an aspiring coach. But I think he's very happy being skills and assistant. I don't think he's got his mother's personality, and unfortunately my daughter has my personality. So
it's always like that.
it always is like that.
All right, Chris, you know that in that show there's a tradition that the guests invites a guest.
Can and I have a choice to invite a guest? So,
Well, today I thought I had a lot of different ideas, but there's only one, because I can honestly tell you that in all my thousands of games I've coached, there's only one person that really brought some fear to me, where you realize even during warm-up, your team was down 2-0, that just the way their mentality and their culture. And one of the people that I hated the most, feared the most, but at the same time respected the most, and I can say that he's just a little bit less of a good golfer than I am.
okay.
But
It's like Cristo, he's not as good tennis player than me.
that's true, but I can tell you that
On camera.
as an individual, this man has won 6 titles, and he, for me, is one of the people I truly look up to. And the next accomplishments and team that he takes to high levels is still around the corner. And I can tell you
We're
that
sure about that.
I asked my good friend Hugo Ropel to if he has any blackmail to get him to come all the way to Geneva for tonight. But I can honestly say I'm so honored to anytime I
So
spend
are
time
we.
with him.
So are we to have you too.
Is Arnold Ocorto.
T'as pratiqué ton anglais? Ça va?
Un petit peu, mais il va falloir relire les bouquins.